All right, and welcome back. So, got a little bit of an unboxing video for you, so let me get you spun around here. So, got steering parts, I got a new grill, I've got new emblems, hood shock, fuel filter, that is my wicked wheel. I have two valve cover gaskets, glow plugs, by the way. These are my mirrors, and those are my headlights. So, those are going to be getting installed on the POWERSTROKE. Pretty excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm pretty stoked to see what the final outcome is going to look like, whether this thing's going to look cool or not. I'm really hoping it's looking good. So, I've already done the fluid change on this. 96 hours later. Had to make sure those differentials sealed up, you know what I mean? Now, the only thing I haven't done yet is the transmission. Or excuse me, transmission and transfer case. So I'll be getting under there and getting that knocked out. And we'll go from there. And then maybe we'll start putting on some of my super cool bolt-on stuff. Alright, so I got a little ahead of myself. I went ahead and installed the new gas cylinder shocks for the hood here. So I've already got that one replaced. I'm going to replace this one next. So I'll let you tag along and watch me replace this one. Alright, so really all you got to do is these little clips right here. You got to be able to get under there and pop them up. Same thing with this one up here. So alright, that one's out. Alright, then we just snap this one in place. Make sure you get it pretty well centered over the ball and apply a little downward pressure. Pick up on the hood a little bit. And then you might have to actually twist the gas cylinder to get it to line up with the ball studs. You just push it in, there's that. Alright, let's see how this thing closes, huh? Ugh. Boy, that's certainly hard coming down. Well, yeah, let's see if we can't get it popped open. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's very nice. Alright, so what we're going to do next is we're going to replace the grill. There's 4 screws here at the top. I don't know how. You got 4 screws up here. And then if I'm not mistaken, I believe there's push-in tabs. You just got to pop them out. So we'll see how that goes. All right. Okay, I'm gonna take a look. There's 4 little push-ins with 4 little bolts and screws you gotta take out. So you gotta be a little careful when you're tugging on your grill trying to get it to remove. Same with installation, you don't want to be shoving it in there. So I'm probably going to remove these and then place them on the new grill before I go to try to shove that in and install. Actually, as a matter of fact, I've decided I'm not going to install the new grill yet. So what I'm going to do is I'll leave the grill out because I have intentions on doing some engine work. And I don't want to be leaning up against my new grill and potentially crack it. So I'll leave the grill off for now, and I'll do my engine work. And once my engine work's done, I'll install the grill. Alright, so what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start taking all this stuff off the top of the engine, so that way I can get to the turbo, and I can start peeling all this stuff off and get to the valve cover gaskets and replace those, and replace the glow plugs. Alright, so I've done a little work off camera. I went ahead and removed the battery box, and the air filter housing, along with all the ductwork running to the turbo. Next step I gotta do is I gotta remove this. I gotta remove this off, which the only thing that's really holding this on is there's two rubber boots. Those little rubber boots right there. This hose clamped on. That's the only thing holding this housing on top of this band clamp right here, which I've already removed. So I'll go ahead and pop those two boots off and see about getting this housing off. What's also, I should mention, there's all this gizmos and gadgets and stuff up here, so just pop that off and lay it off to the side. Also, this air box, it actually was really simple to take apart. It had 2 bolts down here, 2 bolts on the side, 2 bolts over here on the air filter side. I don't remember, but to digress. So I'll go ahead and pop that off, and then we'll look at that the compressor housing and see what we gotta do to get that off. All right, so yeah, it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can't get you down in there so you can see what's going on. It's kind of hard to see, but as you can see here, the vacuum actuator for the wastegate on the turbo, how it's mounted. Let's see if I can get you in there. How it's mounted is on the back side of that stud, there's like an E-clip, and it's in a really bad spot, and I have zero desire to try and pop that out because I'm probably going to lose it. Knowing my luck, I'm going to lose it. So instead of losing that E-clip, I decided to take because as you can see on the back side of the vacuum actuator, there's 2 studs. So there's 2 nuts on the back side of that bracket. So the 2 nuts on the back side of that bracket were 10 millimeters. Like I said, they were both 10 millimeters. I got them popped off, was able to pull very carefully, pull the plunger back for the vacuum actuator, pull it back and up and over to get it out of the way enough so that way I can actually start to get the compressor housing off, and then see about zinging off the compressor wheel and installing a new one. I did a little bit of work off camera last night. So I didn't do anything super major, but so as you can see, I have the compressor housing kind of mocked up. It's not bolted on. It's not bolted on. It's just simply kind of sitting there. So, like I said, I did all that last night. I took off the old compressor wheel and installed the new compressor wheel. As a matter of fact, let's see if I can get this come off, and then look at that. Just look at that thing. Wish I could zoom in on this so you can really get a... Just look at that thing. Nice and shiny. It looks so good. But I will say, so you guys heard the trick about you know, putting an impact on it and just zinging it off. Well, I tried putting an impact. I put my electric 1/2-inch Milwaukee impact on this, and it wasn't doing a thing. It was just spinning. I ended up busting out my pneumatic impact and three little trigger pulls, and that thing zinged right. So like I said, the whole reason why I wanted to install this, to be quite frank, I wanted a little more turbo noise at the exhaust. That's kind of really the big kicker. Plus I know it'll also help with exhaust gas temperatures, and it'll kind of help with lower RPM, building boost at lower RPM, so there wouldn't be so much of a lag. So that'll be kind of cool. But turbo noise was kind of that was the main thing. I know there's a lot of other things I could do to help increase turbo noise, like such as a better downpipe and some other silly jazz, but maybe at a later date. But for now, this will work. This will be fine, I think. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get that compressor housing bolted up on here, and I will get the wastegate actuator plumbed back on. And then once that's taken care of, I'm going to start disassembling the front portion of this engine so I can start getting valve covers off, so I can replace the valve covers, or replace the valve cover gaskets. Alright, I also forgot to mention something. So as you install, I've only gotten 2 bolts in here. I wanted to talk about this before I get it all the way seated in. So as you're installing your compressor housing, it's always a good idea, once you get a couple bolts started, don't tighten them down all the way. It's a good idea to reach in here. I don't know how well you guys can see, but it's always a good idea to reach down in there and just give that impeller a spin. Make sure everything feels good, it spins freely. It's not binding up and it's not rubbing against the housing or anything like that. So if it's binding up and you can't spin it freely, couple things, it could be the housing is not seated properly, or the impeller itself is not threaded all the way down on the shaft, or maybe you simply got the wrong impeller for the turbo you have. So always a good idea to double check that and make sure you're not hosing yourself in the future. I have the turbo down there. I got the wastegate actuator finally bolted on. Of course, I've removed my flashlight, so now you can't see. But got the actuator bolted on, two 10mm bolts on the backside, or 10mm nuts on the backside of that. I should also mention this compressor housing right here, where it mates up to the backing plate here, there's an O-ring. So typically when you break into these, you want to replace that O-ring, because without that O-ring, this thing's not going to build boost, so it'll just leak all out the compressor housing. And there's also I took it out, but there's an O-ring that goes here as well that mounts up to the plenum that goes to the intake. So, and I inspected it after I got the housing off and it doesn't look bad. So now that this is on, bolted on, everything's good. I've already checked the compressor wheel. It is spinning freely and not dragging against nothing. So that's a win in my book. I didn't mess that one up. Now I get the displeasurement of taking all this stuff apart. You gotta take alternator off, a little cover, AC compressor. I gotta take some bracketry off here, and then that give whatever kind of a mess of wire that is. Gotta finagle all that around so that way I can get this valve cover off and that valve cover off. Well, I heard they're not bad to replace, but I've definitely heard that they're not great to replace, so this is going to be fun. Like I said, I also have glow plugs. I do have intentions on replacing glow plugs, and honestly, if I'm already to this point, I may just go ahead and throw injectors in, but probably not, because I ain't got $2,500 laying around to just drop on some injectors. So also, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I do have intentions on installing an S&B cold air intake. So the factory stuff, I ain't plumbing it back on. I will install, because that's the next thing. If I'm going to put that in fancy impeller wheel on my turbo, but I won't allow it to breathe, it's counterproductive. So, I mean, yeah, I'll gain like this much, but that cold air intake will help it gain that much. So, anywho, I'm going to start tearing into all this, and once I get to the point of popping valve covers off, I'll get back with you guys.